Once again, brothers and sisters, good to be with you. And all praises to the Most High. Wednesday evening. And I know you're like me, tired from another hard day of work, but that's captivity for you. This is your host, the Apostle Reuben of IUPR Bible Radio, podcasting out of Little Rock, Arkansas, to the true saints of the Most High God. Now, brothers and sisters, there was a request given. Some of these requests I do, if they're short, I'll get right to them because usually it's something I should have already been done taught, but there's so much to teach. But, you know, I also have one for Revelations 21, 10 through 27. That's 17 verses. That's a lot to cover. But we're going to do that, I guess, in the next couple of podcast episodes because I want to go into that too. It's just a lot you have to learn. So, you know, in this process, we hope you stay with us. As we said, there's a lot to learn. Will a man rob God? What does it mean? But before you read verse 8, Malachi 3 and 8, it's important to go up a verse. Before you read verse 8, you have to read verse 7. And I'm going to show you what. Malachi 3 and 7. Even from the days of your fathers, ye have gone away from mine ordinances, and have not kept them. Return unto me, and I will return unto you. What does it mean to return to God? Let's go to Job. What does it mean to return to God? We're going to show you exactly how we return to God. No other way. The book of Job 22. The book of Job. Let's look at this. We'll look at Job 22:21. Now here's what Job writes. Acquaint now thyself with him, and be at peace. Thereby good shall come unto thee. Receive, I pray thee, the law from his mouth, and lay up his words, which are his laws, in thine heart. If thou return to the Almighty, thou shalt be built up. Thou shalt put away iniquity far from thy tabernacle. So to return, there are stages to return to God. That's why it's written, receive, I pray thee, the law from his mouth, and lay up his words in thine heart. If thou return to the Almighty. How do you return? Receiving the law from his mouth and laying up his words in your heart. If thou return, that's how you return to the Almighty. Thou shalt be built up. Thou shalt put away iniquity, which is sin, far from thy tabernacles. So if you return by keeping the law, you're putting away transgressions from your body. The tabernacles is the body. So when we return to God, we're returning to him by obeying his laws. You can't return to God and stay in sin. So let's go back to Malachi. Malachi 3. Malachi 3 and 7. Even from the days of your fathers, ye are gone away from mine ordinances. So the first thing they did is they stopped keeping the law. Who did this? Who stopped keeping the law? Let's go back to Jeremiah. Jeremiah 2. Jeremiah 2. Verse 8. Let's read it. The priest said not, where is the Lord? And they that handle the law knew me not. They that handle the law is the priest. the priests knew him not. And pastors, I'm showing them, pastors also transgressed against me. And the prophets prophesied by Baal and walked after things that do not profit. I hope you know where I'm going with this. I hope you know, brothers and sisters, where I am going with this, because this is going to be kind of rough. Not too long, though. I'm just showing you, focus on the powers. The powers of the people. Malachi 3. Verse 7. Even from the days of your fathers, ye are gone away from mine ordinances, and have not kept them. So you're breaking the law. Return unto me by keeping the law, and I will return to you, saith the Lord of hosts. But ye said, wherein shall we return? So you're asking, how shall we return? Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. So let's go back and break this down. Will a man rob God? Who's doing the robbing and how? Let's go to the book of Isaiah. We got two places we need to go. Isaiah 61. I'm going to read a verse out of Isaiah 61. Then I want you to watch this. Isaiah 61, verse 8. For I, the Lord, loveth judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offerings. That's what they were doing. The robbery was of burnt offerings. Now, we're coming back to this verse. Hang with me now, brothers and sisters. Hang with me. Let's get the book of 2 Chronicles. Now, I'm thinking 2 Chronicles chapter 31. Ooh, I hope this is it. Such short notice to do this. Oh, yeah, here we go. 2 Chronicles 31 and 6. Now, pay close attention. It says, now I went here for a reason now. I have to show you Isaiah 61, verse 8. I need you to see this. I need you to focus. It's something I want you to see out of the verse. 2 Chronicles 31 and 6. And concerning the children of Israel and Judah that dwelt in the cities of Judah, they also brought the tithe of oxen and sheep. And the tithe of holy things which were consecrated unto the Lord their God, and laid them by heaps. Now, what I want you to understand, brothers and sisters, is oxen and sheep are burnt offerings. They were used as burnt offerings, sin offerings. So, if oxen and sheep are called the tithe, let's go back. Remember now, also brought in the tithe of ox and sheep. You never see no money. Oxen and sheep. So animals, beasts, were tithe. Let's go back to Isaiah 61. I just want you to see that. Oxen and sheep were the tithe. Isaiah 61. Isaiah 61 and verse 8. For I, the Lord, loveth judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offerings, the tithe. And I will direct their work in truth, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them. Now, let me read this in the context that it's in. I'm not going to do you like that. I'm just going to read it, because this is the gospel chapter. For your shame you shall have double. He's telling them this is the gospel. This is the gospel. For your shame, the shame you've been through, Israel, you shall have double. And for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. Now this is God. For I, the Lord, loveth judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offerings. See, that is what the robbery was. Burnt offerings. They were robbing the people of their animals. Tithe. How? Let's look at how. I want to show you how. This is why this is a crafty teaching. But let me do the rest. For I, the Lord, loveth judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering. And I will direct their work in truth, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them. Now, we have to understand, the Lord always hated robbery for burnt offerings, but that's what they were doing. And I'm going to show you in Matthew 5. I'm going to show you how they were robbing them. Matthew chapter 5. I hope you get it. Here it is. Matthew chapter 5, verse 23. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift, the gift is the tithe, to the altar. See, what are you bringing to the altar? What are you bringing to the altar? A sheep or a bullock. And there rememberest that thy brother has aught against thee, aught against you. If your brother and you are upset at each other, and you bring them a tithe, watch this. Christ is going to tell them something. Leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Why did Christ have to tell them to do that? Because they were taking the priest's gifts, and they were still angry with their brother. Why didn't the priest tell them to reconcile with their brother? Because they know, the priest already know. Let me show you what the preacher was supposed to know at this time. The book of Proverbs. This thing goes deep. Proverbs 21. Verse 27. The sacrifice of the wicked, the sinner, is an abomination. So when you sacrifice, if you're a wicked man and you sacrifice to the Lord, it's an abomination. The Lord does not accept it. It's sin to him. If you are wicked with a sacrifice, it is sin. How much more when he bringeth it with a wicked mind? So if you're bringing an animal to the priest, that priest knows that if you are a sinner bringing a gift, still got out with your brother, your sister, hate everybody, it's an abomination. It's a wasted sacrifice. But they didn't care about that. They didn't care. Why? Why didn't they care? Why didn't they care, Luke? I know I'm going fast, brothers and sisters. Please hang with me. The book of Luke, chapter 16, verse 14. And the Pharisee also who were covetous. Yes. Covetous is the 10th commandment. The priests are sinners. Evil, wicked. When you're covetous, what you going to do? Rob the people. Get what I'm saying now. I'm building on this. And the Pharisee let me read it over. And the Pharisee also who were covetous, lawbreakers, they were covetous, they coveted things. Heard all these things and they derided him. What did they deride Christ for? Here it is. No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. For he cannot serve God and money. Money. He's telling them. But when you go down, and the Pharisee also, who were covetous, heard all these things, and they derided him. They made fun of him. See, it's a battle. We're not here for the scene that Christ had to go through. They don't make the scene on the movies. They don't make it. It's not important to them because it'll point them out. That's why when we go back to Matthew, again, we're showing you how they're robbing the people. They're taking their tithes from them and they're leaving them in sin. But let me show you. Matthew 5. Verse 23. Here's the advice of Christ. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee. Y'all are mad at each other. Leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way, and first be reconciled or become friends again to thy brother. And then come and offer thy gift. So your offering will be legit before the Lord. It won't be an abomination. You could not sacrifice to God with a wicked heart. You still angry with your brother, but you want to bring a gift to the priest. Pay attention, brothers and sisters. Pay close attention. And that's what's going on with these preachers here. It's the same thing. You can hate your brother, your sister, as long as you bring the money. But let's go back. Let's go back to Isaiah. Whoa, sorry about that, brothers and sisters. Went off on the picture. Let's go back to the book of Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 61, verse 8. Just real quick. Isaiah 61, verse 8. For I, the Lord, loveth judgment. I hateth robbery for burnt offerings. See, that is what they were robbing the people for. One of the things. Not all, but one. And you've seen it with Christ. They were taking offerings, but the people were left poor in sin. The man wouldn't even need an offering had you taught him right the first place. Let's move on. The book of, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you this in the book of Ezekiel, because I got to move on with this. Ezekiel 22. Now, you know where I'm going. Verse 25. I'm going to read 4 verses. Ezekiel 22:25. There is a conspiracy of the prophets in the midst thereof. Like a roaring lion ravening the prey, they have devoured souls. Devoured souls. They have taken the treasure and precious things. They have made her many widows in the midst thereof. Hope you guys are reading along. Her priests have violated my law. Again, the law. Focus on the law. See, we're looking at Malachi 3:8. We need to be going up to Malachi 3:7. It is talking about the first thing you need to understand is lawbreakers is doing this, not law keepers, breakers. It's all the same thing. Her priests have violated my law and have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between the holy and profane. You can eat everything now. Pork is just as good to eat as chicken or any other thing you like to eat. It's all clean. What? You mean to tell me they haven't read Isaiah 66:17 about God setting fire to those that eat swine? Come on now. They have put no difference between the holy and profane. Neither have they showed difference between the unclean and the clean. Now, unclean and the clean. Let's take a look at those two words. What does it mean to be unclean and clean? Then we're coming back. Okay. The book of Leviticus. Let's see what is unclean and then what is clean. Leviticus 16, verse 16. And he shall make an atonement for the holy place because of the uncleanness of the children of Israel, because of their transgressions and all their sins. And so shall he do for the tabernacle of the congregation that remaineth among them in the midst of their uncleanness. Uncleanness, to be unclean, means to be in sin. See uncleanness of the children of Israel because of their transgressions and all their sins? To be unclean means to be in sin. To be unclean means to be in sin. Well, let's look at the book of Job 33. What does it mean to be clean? I'm going to read 2 verses. Surely thou hast spoken in mine hearing, and I have heard the voice of thy words, saying, I am clean without transgression. I am innocent, neither is there iniquity in me. To be clean is to be without sin. To be clean means to be without transgression. To be clean means you're not transgressing the laws. That's what it means to be clean. We know what we're talking about. We're showing you to be clean is to be without sin. So, Ezekiel, I'm sorry about that. Ezekiel 22. And verse 26 again. Her priests have violated my law and have profaned my holy things. They have put no difference between the holy and profane. Neither have they showed difference between the unclean and the clean, the sinner or the lawkeeper. There's no difference between the two. There's no difference between the sinner and the lawkeeper. And have hid their eyes from my Sabbath. Yes, they have. I am profane among them. Her princes in the midst thereof are like wolves ravening the prey, to shed blood and to destroy souls. This is what this is about. We keep telling you, they're designed to destroy souls. To get dishonest gain, dishonest gain, dishonest gain. And her prophets have daubed them with untempered mortar, seeing vanity. Vanity is vain things. Divining lies, lying to them. The Lord said, the Lord said. The Lord didn't say anything. We're not reading it. And divining lies unto them, saying, thus saith the Lord God, when the Lord hath not spoken. See, that's the same thing we've been telling you. They always say what the Lord said, and they're not showing you. We're going to show you, but watch this. Here we go. Here's what we want to get to. The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery. See, it was them that were robbing God. Yes, brothers and sisters, it wasn't the man that's not paying tithes robbing God. It's the men that are taking tithes and their brethren and their people are poor and in their sins. That's the robbery. They have you thinking, oh, you're not paying your tithes. Will a man rob God? No. That's no. Who's robbing is the powers, the pastors. Brothers and sisters, none of this is the same. The state and religion, the same. Joe Biden even attends a church. The people of the land have used oppression and exercised robbery. They have vexed the poor and the needy. How did they vex? How did they vex them? How did they vex them? We're going to see. Yea, they have oppressed the stranger wrongfully. They're oppressing. You're going to see Jeremiah 5. Jeremiah 5. Jeremiah 5. Remember, it says the poor and the needy. Jeremiah 5. In verse 3. This is what Jeremiah was saying. O Lord, are not thine eyes upon the truth? Thou hast stricken them, but they have not grieved. Thou hast consumed them, but they have refused to receive correction. That's from the law. They have made their faces harder than a rock. They have refused to return. Therefore I said, surely these are poor. Why are they poor? They are foolish. Why are they foolish? For they know not the way of the Lord, nor the judgment of their God. The reason why we are poor and foolish and needy, because the pastors have not taught the judgment. They can't. You're going to see as we go through. Let's go back to Malachi. Let's go back to Malachi. I'm showing you who's doing the robbing. It's not talking about, will a man not pay? No, the man that's robbing God is your pastors. Here we go. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. Me. I'm going to show you. Me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Offerings. Tithes and offerings, you have robbed me. Me. Let's read on down. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. That's what they were doing. They were robbing the whole nation. That's why when you talk about that whole nation, it was mentioned in John 11. John 11. John 11. Verse 50. Let's read verse 49. And one of them named Caiaphas, being the high priest that same year, said unto them, ye know nothing at all, nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perisheth not. Letting you know Christ only died for the nation of Israel. But that whole nation perisheth not was the 12 tribes. See the whole nation? You're going to see the same thing in Malachi. Chapter 3. Malachi chapter 3. Verse 9. Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. When God says you have robbed me, even is indeed this nation. When you robbed God, you were robbing the nation. See, Christ, when it says ye are cursed with a curse, let's go to Matthew 25. There's something about in the New Testament about that. The cursed, Matthew 25. Let me show you. Matthew 25. I want to start in verse 45. Do I want to do that? Let me start in verse 41. We'll start in verse 41. I'm sorry. We're going to start in verse 41. The book of Matthew chapter 25 verse 41. And they shall say also unto them, and he shall say also unto them, Christ. Now he's talking about the right hand and the left. Now remember, the righteous were on the right hand and the others were on the left. So let's look at this. Then shall he say also unto them on the left, depart from me, ye cursed. See the cursed. See that curse? You finna find out why he cursed them. See, you don't realize these pastors are cursed with a curse. That's the bottom line. Let's get this curse. And I'm going to show you. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, depart from me, ye cursed, unto everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungered, and you gave me no meat. These churches don't help communities get with their money. Get up. They don't help the community build things. They don't give them anything. That over and over they pay tithes, still living in rundown units. Come on now. I was thirsty, you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick, and in prison, and ye visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee an hunger, or thirst, or stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, insomuch as ye did it not for one of the least of these, ye did it not unto me. You can't pay for medication and tithes too. You can't pay these things and put money in the collection plate. But they're steady telling you, you must pay your tithes. It's the only law that's still out there. Wow. Now you see why this is written. Let's go to the book of Malachi again. Chapter 3. Verse 8. I want to do this again. Will a man rob God? We're showing you who it's talking about. It's not talking about you and I. It's not. Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the book of Nehemiah. Excuse me. Let's look at this tithes and offerings. Nehemiah 10. We're going to read verse 35 real quick, down to 37. The book of Nehemiah 10:35. And to bring the first fruits of our ground, and the first fruits of all fruit of all trees, year by year, unto the house of the Lord. Also the firstborn of our sons and of our cattle, as it is written in the law, and the firstlings of our herds, and our flocks, to bring to the house of our God, unto the priest that minister in the house of our God. But you're going to find out, that that house is something else. Now there's a house that's a storehouse, but there is another house that God has. Watch this. And that we should bring the first fruits of our dough and our offering, and the fruit of all manner of trees, of wine and of oil unto the priest, to the chambers of the house of our God, and the tithes of our ground unto the Levites, that the same Levites might have the tithes and all the cities of our tillage ground. You had fruit and vegetables and different varieties of spices, animals. That was tithe, implying that you had land. The tithe was from the ground, the vegetables, the fruits from every tree, the herd, the flock. This has nothing to do with money. And we're going to show you Deuteronomy 14. Let's get this. Deuteronomy 14. I'm going to do a little bit of reading, but Deuteronomy 14. I decided to go back over this. I about missed it. I'm getting straight to the point. Verse 22. Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed. That the field bringeth forth year by year, seed. And thou shalt eat it before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, to this place, to place his name there. The tithes of thy corn, the tithe of thy corn, and of thy wine, and of thine oil, and the firstlings of thy herds, and of thy flocks. This looks like animals, vegetables, wines. I don't see money, but pay attention, that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always. Here we go. And if the way be too long for thee, the place where you got to go, so that thou art not able to carry it, the it was the vegetables, the fruits, the herds, the animal, the corn, all that, wine, the dough, which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there, when the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, then thou shalt turn it into money. Now, see, this lets you know that money exists. If what you have in corn and wine and oil and dough and animals and spices, if it's too much for you to carry a long distance, then you will sell it to somebody and get the money for it. So you don't have to bring it all up there. But pay attention now. I want you to pay attention, because this is something. And thou shalt turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand. And thou shalt go unto the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt bestow the money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, for sheep, or for wine. So when you got to the land that he chose, you were to buy everything you had. And what you're going to do with it? Let's look. And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever thy soul desireth. And thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God. You wouldn't come empty-handed. And thou shalt rejoice, thine household. In thine household. Thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household. Look at this. And the Levite that is within thy gates, thou shalt not forsake him. Hey, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee. And here we go. Now I wanted this part. And at the end of 3 years, thou shalt bring forth all the tithes of thine increase the same year, and thou shalt lay it up within thy gates. How many? Wait a minute. And at the end of 3 years, thou shalt bring forth all the tithes of thine increase. Wait a minute. At the end of 3 years, so every 3 years, you were to bring the tithes of your increase, not every week. Every 3 years, you were to bring the tithes of your increase of fruit, vegetables, wine, animals, dough. Come on now, spices. Whatever your increase is, you were to bring 10% of it and lay it up within the gates. Pay attention. Watch what was to happen. And the Levite, because he hath no part nor inheritance with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come and shall eat and be satisfied. That meant that everybody had part in the tithes. Come on, brothers and sisters, tell me, if a church done built millions of dollars, why these people lights still getting cut off? Why these people still giving up their car note? Their cars are being repossessed. Why are the kids hungry? Why do we have to have all these different type of how can I play the game with it? State shelters and food programs when the church is supposed to do. Do you realize that all the money that the church, pay attention to what I say, and the Levites, because he had no part nor inheritance with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come and shall eat and be satisfied. That meant that anybody that's got a light bill, water bill, gas bill, groceries, a car note behind, a house note behind, you should be able to go to the church that has all this money and get some of it to help you. Are you getting that, brothers and sisters? Are you seeing that? No. They don't tell you this part about the tithe. You're supposed to, if you're poor, get some of that money. That's why it says, will a man rob God? Because look at this. The people are supposed to get some of that. If you build up tithe, when you need help, you're supposed to be able to go get it. They're not doing that today. That's how they're robbing God. Robbing God means robbing the people. That's what you have to understand. When you are robbing God, you're robbing the people. You're robbing the people. You're not robbing him. When you rob God, you rob the people. With these churches raising millions of dollars, their hands should be out first giving up the money they raised. There should be programs from these churches that help with medication. There should be programs from these churches that help with food, bills, everything. Why does your state have to bring that up when the church is supposed to give it? They are supposed to give it. And the Levite, because he hath no part, nor inheritance with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come, and they shall eat they shall eat of the same thing that was brought and stored, that the Lord thy God may bless thee. That's the blessing comes there, and all the work of thy hands which thou doest. That is not what they were doing. They were not paying tithes every week, 3 times a year. No, I mean every 3 years. I'm sorry. Every 3 years you were to bring the increase, not every week. Oh, well, because you get a paycheck. No, no, no. These people had land. You had your own land, your own oxen, your own. This isn't talking about a paycheck from the job. This is not talking about a paycheck from the job. When you had your own land, you had a paid for home, you owned the land, and the oxen on the land. That's a different type of life. You got to get what I'm saying, brothers and sisters. Let's go back. Let's go back. Malachi 3. Okay, but I want to, well, we already did it. Malachi 3:8. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Who's robbing them? The rulers. Because the rulers already knew the orders. 3 times a year. Not every week. That's nothing. And it wasn't money. It was animals, spices, vegetables, fruits, oils, wines. Even Christ, Matthew 23. Matthew 23, verse 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, for you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin. Those are spices. There's no money here. We don't see money. And we don't see money. Let's go back. Now, I'm only covering one aspect of the tithe. When I go into a podcast episode, I'm going to get every aspect. But I want to catch this side first. We're talking about the robbery. Who's robbing God? Who? Malachi 3 and verse 8. Again, will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Let me show you guys a verse in Proverbs. I want to show you this. Proverbs 19. You don't believe what I'm saying? Look at this. Proverbs 19, verse 17. He that hath pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord. Hey, did you read that right? He that hath pity on the poor lendeth unto the Lord. This thing's serious, y'all. When you have pity on the poor man, you lend to God himself. And that which he hath given, will he pay him again? God's going to pay you back for that. God's going to pay you back for that. When you have pity on the poor, you lend to God. How can you lend to God? God doesn't need you to lend to him. Get what we're reading here. When you have pity on the poor and love them and do them right, you lendeth unto God. And that which he hath given, will he pay him again? You're going to get back everything you gave. But not if you're robbing the people. Malachi 3 verse 8. One more time. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings. Ye are cursed with a curse. That curse is damnation. For ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. That is how they rob God, by robbing the nation. As you have seen, we read it. We've read it. Now let's go to the next verse. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house. Meat in mine house. See, God has a storehouse, but he has another house. Look at this again. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that they may be meat in mine house. What's mine house? Let's get the book. I'm going to show you what this mine house is. Jeremiah 12. I'm coming with this prophecy for a reason. Verse 7. We'll read verse 6. For even thy brethren and the house of thy father, even they have dealt treacherously with thee. Yea, they have called a multitude after thee. Believe them not, though they speak fair words unto thee. That's the job of these pastors. For I have forsaken mine house. I have left my heritage. I have given the dearly beloved of my soul into the hand of her enemies. Oh, wait a minute now. Wait a minute now. It says, I have forsaken mine house. I have left my heritage. His heritage is Israel. I have given the dearly beloved, which is Israel, of my soul into the hand of their enemy. So mine house is what? His people. Mine house is his people. When you see mine house, he's talking about Israel. I can show you again in Jeremiah 11. I think it's there. Sometimes the Bible refers to his house being Israel. That's why he says in Jeremiah 11:14, therefore pray not thou for this people, neither lift up a cry or prayer for them, for I will not hear them. We were in sin. In the time that they cry unto me for their trouble. For what has my beloved to do in mine house? Wait a minute. Seeing mine house was she hath wrought lewdness with many, and the holy flesh is passed from thee. When thou doest evil, then thou rejoicest. See, sometimes when God says mine house, he's talking about his people. So when we go back to Malachi, I want you to see that. Sometimes mine house refers to his people, because that's what this is about, the people. Malachi 3:10. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and prove me now wherewith, saith the Lord of hosts. If I will not open you the windows of heaven. The windows of heaven. Let's look at the windows. Let's get the book of Genesis. What does he mean, the windows of heaven? For some reason, these Christians talk about, the windows of heaven. I'm like, what do you, like God is just going to pour out, he'll pour blessings down for you. And no, let's go back to Genesis. What is the windows of heaven? It's always some theatrics with these pastors. Genesis 7:11. And in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. When it says the windows of heaven, it's talking about rain. Do you see anything falling out of heaven beside rain? No. It wasn't some metaphor. When it says the windows of heaven were open, it rained. That's why it says, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. when the windows of heaven were open, it rained. All that's talking about is rain, brothers and sisters. Rain. Look at this. Let's go back. Malachi 3, verse 10. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house, among my people, and prove me now where herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven to get rain and pour you out a blessing. The blessing was rain, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. This is talking about a land. We ain't raining no money out of heaven to help the land. The land, this is all about the land. Tithes. Tithes is about land, animals, fruit, vegetables. That's how they're going to be blessed. When it rains upon the land is plentiful where everyone can enjoy. You see, man, I'm telling you, they've convinced people that money, and see, this is why I'm showing you this, brothers and sisters. I hope you see it. The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10. Pay attention to this. Verse 19. It says, a feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh merry, but money answereth all things. See, they want you to believe that it's all about money, because money answereth all things. That is what people covet after. See, you are not going to want the true freedom of life, the true tithe. The true tithe is your own land, and you got fruit, trees, vegetables growing, oxen and sheep, pure meat. You have purity. You have the purity of a life. If you have all those things, you don't need any money. If you have land and all that, all your resources, you can always, that's better money. What's the use, brothers and sisters, if you having money and a little house among a lot of people and a little driveway, and you got to go to the grocery store, buy your meat? What's free? What's better than having a paid for house out on your own land with all the oxen, all the sheep, chickens, eggs? Land is the greatest resource. They understand this. And also the tithing was that alone. The land. You had to have land to tithe. If any of you understand that Israel is in captivity, they have no, what do we, come on now. That's why it was never, not yet, Harry, not yet. We can't do that. We can't do that now, Jim, Bob, Peter. Let's go back to the book of Malachi 3. Verse 10. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. Who? It's not just the people bringing it to the storehouse. The pastors, the preachers, the prophets, they are to orchestrate this to the storehouse. If there shall be meat in mine house among my people, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open to you the windows of heaven, make it rain, and pour you out a blessing. The blessing was the rain, that there shall be room enough to receive it. Why? Because when you get the rain, the land prospers. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground. Again, the fruits of your ground. Neither shall neither shall your vine cast up her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. Notice this keeps talking about the ground. This has nothing to do with money. Nothing. Nothing. So I will rebuke the devourer. Let's take a look at the devourer. The book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel chapter 7. I'm just going to show you the devourer. Who is this devourer? Ezekiel chapter 7, verse 15. The sword is without, and the pestilence and the famine within. See, the sword is without, the pestilence and the famine within. He that is in the field shall die with the sword, and he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. Devour. Watch. But they that escape of them shall escape, and shall be on the mountains like doves of the valleys, all of them mourning every one for his iniquity. See, the devourer would come because of iniquity. The only reason why God would send the devourer was because of iniquity, sin. When you talk about devour, the sword, pestilence, and famine, that is what devours land. Oh, wow. Malachi. Excuse me, brothers and sisters. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground. That was the sword. That was the sword. Neither shall your vine cast up her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. See, the devourer was the sword and the pestilence. Let's go back, because I want you to see this. The book of Psalms. Psalm 17. Psalm 17, verse 13. Psalm 17, verse 13. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is the, wait now. Deliver my soul from the wicked. Deliver my soul from the wicked, the sinners, which is thy sword. So the wicked is his sword. The wicked is his sword. His sword. See it? The wicked is his sword. Let's go back to Ezekiel. Now remember, the wicked is his sword. Ezekiel 7. Ezekiel 7, verse 15. The sword is without, and the pestilence and famine within. So the sword, which are the wicked, see, there's a sword God has. There's a sword. The sword that's without is the wicked. The pestilence and the famine that's within is your crops dying out. And if the crops, fruit, vegetables die out, then your animals are going to die. And then you are going to die. That's what a famine is. He that is in the field shall die with the sword. Whose sword? The wicked. And he that is in the city, famine and pestilence shall devour him. That's the devourer. But they that escape of them shall escape, and shall be on the mountains like doves of the valleys, all of them mourning, crying, everyone for his iniquity, because that is what's going to cause the sword, the pestilence, and famine. They sinned. That's why when we go back to Malachi, the whole point of this in Malachi, we're going to read it down now. Malachi 3, verse 7. Even from the days of your fathers ye have gone away from my ordinances, my laws, and have not kept them. This was about the law. Return unto me by keeping the law, Job 22, 22, and 23, and I will return to you. You got to return to him by keeping the law first. There's a stipulation of this. Saith the Lord of hosts, but ye said, wherein shall we return? Now look at this. Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. How did they rob people? Rob God by robbing the people. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings you have robbed. Look at this. Ye are cursed, which is damned with a curse. For ye have robbed me, even this whole nation. That's how you rob God, by robbing the people. You're taking tithes from the people, leaving them poor and in their sins. That's how you're robbing them. This has nothing to do, should a man rob God because you don't pay your tithes? Where's your land? Where's your oxen? Where's your trees with fruit? Where's your pear tree, your apple tree, your orange, the tree for the orange? Where's your potatoes and greens and watermelons? Where's all that? You can grow that. Where's all that? Where's your land with your home sitting on top where you don't have no house note? That's what's called an inheritance, folk. That's what they call an inheritance, folk. You have to have land. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house among my people, and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven for rain. That's it. It's not like blessings, like you're going to get a lot of, no, rain, and pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. Why? Because you're going to have a lot of crops. A lot of rain brings a healthy seed. Everybody can eat now. That's why he says, I will rebuke the devourer. When he says, I will rebuke the devourer, it does not come without the stipulation of you returning to him from your sins. You have to return from sins. Don't forget about verse 7. It doesn't start Malachi 3 and 8. It's 7. 7. That's why it says, and I will rebuke the devourer. The devourer is famine and pestilent for your sakes. And he shall not, the he is the sword, the wicked. He shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, because the wicked is right along with the famine and pestilence. Neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. It's all going to be in order. And all nations shall call you blessed, for ye shall be a delightsome land, saith the Lord of hosts. All nations shall call you blessed. The people, you, they're going to call you blessed. The ye is who we've been talking about all along. It's not talking about, see, the Christians, we personalize it, and they shall call you blessed. No, the nations shall call Israel blessed. God didn't give the tithes and offerings to all nations to do. He only gave it to Israel. And you shall be a delightsome land. Land, that was talking about the land all along. This ain't talking about no money, saith the Lord of hosts. So the thing is, brothers and sisters, what you got to realize is, let's go to Mark 12. How could I do this? Well, we'll do it like this. And Christ is going to say something about this. Now, should I do this? Nah, this is an example. Which devour widows' houses, and for a pretense, fake, make long prayers. That's what these preachers do. Oh, sister such and such, Lord, and she needs you, Lord. These shall receive the greater damnation. And the Messiah set over against the treasury, and behold, how the people cast money into the treasury. And many that were rich cast in much. But watch this. And there came a certain poor widow, and she threw in 2 mites, which make a farthing. Just nothing. Nothing. She had nothing to give. And he called unto him his disciples, and said unto him, Verily I say unto you, that this poor widow has cast more in than all they which have cast into the treasury. Why? For all they did cast in of their abundance. If somebody is abundant, somebody's not. But she of her want, she needed this money. And that's what they're doing, brothers and sisters. These old women need their money, but they're giving it. See, I don't like teaching tithes. I don't like teaching a man. I don't like this because it brings an emotion that is not needed. This is will a man rob God? Yes, you're robbing his people. You're robbing that woman. That's how you're robbing him. But she of her want did cast in all that she had, even all her living. That is what a lot of these older people are doing. They're casting in their living because they're being told, 10% of the tithe, 10% of the tithe. You got to pay your 10% of the tithe. Can you show me a verse in the New Testament besides Matthew 23, verse 23, where they took tithes? No, because they're not taking tithes anymore. They're taking alms now. See, let's get Acts. See, they want to bring you the law of the tithe. They want to bring the tithes of the law of the tithe, but the law is done away. The law has been fulfilled. You mean to tell me Christ didn't fulfill the tithe on the cross? But let's go to Acts. Verse 32. And the multitude of them that believed were of one heart and of one soul. Neither said any of them that aught of these things which he possessed was his own, but they had all things common. Watch this. And with great power gave the apostles witness of the resurrection of the Lord Messiah. And great grace was upon them all. Neither was there any among them that lacked. For as many as were possessors of lands or houses sold them. Which one of these dudes doing that, man? All this money they got. What are they selling? When? How are they getting rid of something? These men aren't allowed to help the poor. Neither are these superstars. Neither are these baseball players, basketball players, football. They can't help them. For as many as were possessors of lands or houses sold them and brought the price of the things that were sold. What they do? And laid them down at the apostles' feet, and distribution was made unto every man according as he had need, just like the law commanded in Deuteronomy 14, verse 29, I think. That's what you had to give the money to who needed it. They were taking the money, brothers and sisters, that they were raising from the rich and giving it to the poor. Whatever, if you had to give, distribution of that was given to them that needed it. That means the woman got the money for her light bill, that gas bill. Oh, that car note, we got it. That rent, paid. All praises to the Most High, brothers and sisters. Touchy subject there. Will a man rob God? Touchy subject. Not something that I like to do every time, because if it doesn't bother you, it doesn't, but it bothers me. It bothers me. The man that's robbing God, you can see it right here. Point blank. Peace and blessings, brothers and sisters, and all praises.